Hey, how's it going? Well, I did a video called Don't Tell This Until I'm Dead part. First part, this is going to be the second part. And if you saw the first one, you know it was about my Uncle Dale that would tell me stories. You know, part of my family was preachers and part of them was in prison and on parole. And so my Uncle Dale, my mom's older brother, used to tell me a lot of stories, as I told you before. And a lot of these stories he would tell me not to tell until after he died, especially because there are other people involved, and I still can't tell all of them. I have to leave some names out because some of those people are still living. But in telling this story, I posted it today and then had to redo it because my 13-year-old son Rio said I had some wrong information in there about my history. So I had to go back and change it, but that's the way my Uncle Dale told it to me. He told the history part to me wrong. I'll get to that in a second. But talking about decisions, my mom was 14 years old, sitting at a revival, and just a few people there. And this preacher came back and asked her if she wanted to pray to give her life to the Lord, and she said she wasn't ready. And he went up and knelt down at the altar. And as soon as he knelt down, he got back up and came and told her, he said, if you don't pray tonight, you'll never have another chance. So she went up to the altar and gave her life to the Lord. She's preached all over the United States in the biggest arenas and biggest churches and written books, sold I don't know how many, and been in ministry her whole life. But she told me a story, and later on that she was asked out the next day for a date by a man named Larry. I'll just say Larry H, because I don't know if he's still living, but he's got family around here that's still living. But Larry was the cool guy in school, had the hot rod car, kind of a bad boy, smoked cigarettes, got into fights. Well, he asked her out the next day after she got saved, and she said, I would have last week, but she said, I can't go out with you because I'm a Christian now. I'm saved and gave my heart to Jesus, and I can't go out with people that aren't Christians. And so she didn't go out with Larry H., but my Uncle Dale that, spent time in prison and would tell me a lot of his crime stories, and his wife would always holler and say, Dale, don't tell him in those prison stories and them crime stories and all that. He's a preacher. And I'd be like a little kid on the edge of my seat, like, tell me more, tell me more. So he told me that him and Larry H., and this story will later be verified. I saw it on TV with Morgan Freeman, the actor, has a show called Greatest Escapes. And Morgan Freeman verified on this show, Great Escapes, the things that my Uncle Dale told me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know people that he's talking about. Well, my uncle knows them and done things with them. So the story goes that Dale said what they would do is my Uncle Dale was a welder, and he said they figured out some kind of deal with a cutting torch, and I forget the mixture of the oxygen and whatever, that they got it that would burn so hot it would burn through a safe door really fast. But it was so hot that when they would have to run a hose from the outside of the house on a spigot, and when he was cutting through the safe door, don't know if it was my uncle, I'm assuming it probably was, he didn't say, but he was a welder. And they would have to continually spray him with a water hose while he was burning through that safe. That fire was so hot. And they would have to spray through the cracks in the safe so it wouldn't burn up the money. And so he said one time in Florida, Larry H. And them brought a trunk load of money to his house, and it was wet and partially burned, and the rest of it soaking wet from the water hose. And they had to hang it up on clotheslines all across Dale's house, and they had dryers, fans, blow dryers, I don't know what, putting it in the dryer, trying to dry out all this money. So Larry H. Suggested that the next time they just go in and find the people at home and hold them at gunpoint, and that way they wouldn't have to. All this is documented, by the way. You can check history and everything like that if anybody don't believe it. And I can tell you people that know of Larry H. and they know of all this happening. Pastor Josh Willis knows. Denny Lohman knows. Lots of people. If anybody don't believe this story, but anyway, Dale said that Larry said, "Hey, if we just catch the people at home and do it at gunpoint, make them open the safe, then take the money. We don't have to burn through the safe. We don't have to go through all that, soaking the money and drying the money and all that." So Dale said, "I'm out." He said, "I'm not doing that because somebody's going to get killed. Somebody's going to get hurt." So sure enough, somebody tries to go for a gun. Larry H. kills the homeowner. Then there was something said about, well, we can't leave any witnesses. And so then a lot of people got killed or whatever. So Larry got life in prison. And I know as an old man in his 80s, got out. He's still out if he's still living. I know he was trying to get a hold of my uncle. The last time I was at my uncle's house, probably 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And, but anyway, so he had gotten out in his 80s. They let him out, but he got life in prison. And so I don't know if you think this is a coincidence or not, but like in about 1990, there was a newspaper with my picture in it. I wish I could have kept it. I didn't keep half the stuff. I should have, but I was riding in a rodeo, either Cincinnati Gardens or Dayton Hare Arena, somewhere local here. And every time the rodeo would come and I'd be in it, they would do something about me in the paper because I was a local guy riding against all these people from Texas and Oklahoma and everywhere. So they'd always interview me, put something in the paper. So there was this newspaper, like on the whole right side of the paper on that page, like say it was page 4. Well, and it said Christian rock singer and professional rodeo cowboy tells his story or something. He's going to ride here Saturday night at the rodeo, whatever. It had a whole page on me. Well, at the adjacent page, like say it was page 4, well on page 3, the page that would touch it if it closed was on the other side. It said Larry H. gets life in prison for murder. And so my mom literally saw her 2 destinies, what that preacher was talking about decades and decades before that when she was 14 years old. And Jesus said, if you don't follow me, you'll never have another chance. She said, I knew that if I wouldn't have got saved that night, I would have went out with Larry. I would have kept going out with him. I would have done all the robberies with him. I would have done everything he would have done because whatever I'm into, I'm into. And if I wouldn't have got into Jesus, so literally, I don't know the Las Vegas odds on both of her possible destinies being in the same paper, face to face on the same fold of the paper. One side, a whole article on me and working in ministry and rodeo. The other side, her other destiny, that if she would not have chose Christ, being life in prison with Larry H. Now, so when I was watching Greatest Escapes hosted by Morgan Freeman, he said, he's talking about these prisoners that constructed this ladder. They built it out of machine parts or something. And he said the first one over the wall was Larry H. And he said the second person over the wall was Lee Harvey Oswald, the man who shot JFK. And so Dale had told me that story, that Larry escaped with Lee Harvey Oswald out of prison and got caught and verified everything that Dale told me on that show with Morgan Freeman was talking about that, and I was freaking out. And I thought, wow, what are the chances? 2 destinies. I know I've said this before, and I'm almost done. Just check it out. One decision, this side of the paper or this side of the paper. Life in prison or a life with God in ministry and the great life that she still has. And I want to ask you, if you don't know the Lord, what about your decision to serve Christ? What if there was a newspaper 10 years from now with your 2 destiny paths on it? What if you do follow Christ? What would the paper say? And what if you reject him? What's on the other side of the paper? What's on the other side that lays wait for you if you say no to Jesus? It's one decision that will change not only your life, but your eternity. I pray that you find Jesus today. I pray that you say yes to Jesus and no to the devil. Thank you for listening to my story. My book will be out in about a week called The First Day of Your Worst Day. You can get it on Amazon and all that. So I hope to see you soon.